Hi guys, how are you? First, are you guys able to hear me? Am I audible? Sriharni, are you able to hear me? Aditi, are you able to hear me? Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Guys, let's just take a look at the properties we covered in the last class. We were doing logarithms, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, right. So, the first property we learned that was that if I say log a to the base b equal to m, it only means that a is equal to b raised to m. Okay. That's the most important thing about logarithms. Hmm. That explains a lot of the remaining properties actually. Right. So, what are the conditions for log a to the base b to exist? A should be positive, b should be positive, and b, the base, cannot be equal to 1. All right, I explained that weird case, right? When b is equal to 1.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Aditi, are you there? Hmm. Look, Aditi, you're not audible, so just say hi in the chat if you can hear me correctly, properly. All right, so this is how the graph of log x looks like. All right, we discussed that. Then what did we do? This is when the base is greater than 1. This is when the base is between 0 and 1. Okay, the base cannot be 1. Don't forget. That's why there's no case like that. All right. Next, we did some properties. Log a to the base a will always be 1 if a is a permissible value greater than 0 and not equal to 1. Log 1 to the base a will always be equal to 0 whether a is greater than 1 or less than 1. But a should be greater than 0. Okay. Because anything raised to 0 will be 1. Any positive quantity raised to 0 is 1. That's the idea here. Next, log AB is equal to log A plus log B. All right. So that's a property you already know. Log A by B will hence become log A minus log B. Okay. Because log A by B can be written as log A into 1 by B. Okay. So then it becomes log A plus log 1 by B. Okay. Now 1 by B I'll write as B bar minus 1. And then we use the next property where log A raised to M power B. So you can take the power out. So then what did we discuss before? Log A plus log 1 by B. What does that become? Log A plus log B power minus 1. You take the power down, it becomes log A minus log B. That should be a good enough proof for why log A to the base, log A by B equal to log A minus log B. All right. I hope you guys understood. I already explained this in the last class. That's why I'm hurrying through it. If you forgot or you're not catching up with it, please ask again. It's okay because it's been a week and by now you must have forgotten it. There's a good probability. Okay. So yeah, log A to the base B power n. Okay, so the power in the base can be taken out as the denominator. Okay, so that's why I took 1 by n outside. All right, just notice that. Then log A to the base B, you can take the original part as the base and the base as the exponent part. Okay, so what do you write is that log A to the base B can be written as 1 by log B to the base A. Okay, so the idea is you can bring in another common base m in between. That's the idea, which is proven in the next property. Log A to the base B can be written as log A base m divided by log B base m. M is any quantity, any permissible quantity greater than 0, not equal to 1. Okay. Now, A bar log m to the base A is equal to m. That's another property. Okay, this is actually pretty useful for calculations. Yeah. Then, yeah, this was an important property. A bar log B to the base C equal to B bar log A to the base C. This A and B, you just integrate, nothing will happen. All right, that's the idea. Now, last was the inequalities part, which I explained, but we didn't practice any problems based on it. So we'll get that today. Right. So log x to the base m greater than log y to the base m. It means x is greater than y if m is greater than 1. It's the opposite. Basically, the sign flips. In the second case, x is less than y when m is between 0 and 1. Okay. So whenever you see log x to the base m greater than log y to the base m, you write x greater than y if m is greater than 1. You don't write it that way, as in the sign will flip, x less than y if m is between 0 and 1. Just remember like that. As a quick proof, what you can do is, we are saying, right, m is a quantity between, okay, let m be greater than 1. If m is greater than 1, m dash, I'm defining an m dash, which is 1 by m. What can you say about that? Like let m be any value greater than 1. What can you say about m dash? M dash is between 0 and 1, right? Are you getting it? Like any value greater than 1, if you take the reciprocal, it will be between 0 and 1. Like 5 you take the reciprocal, it becomes 0.2. 3 you take the reciprocal, it becomes 0.33. 100 you take the reciprocal, it becomes 0.01. You can see how the number goes to a value between 0 and 1. Okay, so m dash is equal to 1 by m. So here, if I am saying log x to the base m dash, so I made the base between what? Okay, so
Between
we'll try another thing. Log x to the base m greater than log y to the base m is what is given. So that's why I'm going to play with this particular. So I'm going to write minus here and put -1 here. Does this make sense? Because this power here, m raised to -1, that power -1, I can take it outside as a denominator's power. So then that minus and minus will cancel out, and I'll get the same equation first. Log x to the base m greater than log x to the base log y to the base m. Okay. So wait, I need some more space to write this. Log x to the base m is greater than log y to the base m is what's given. Okay, this is not a question. This is a property. Okay, so what I'm saying is m dash is a quantity between 0 and 1, which is 1 by m. So I'm trying to incorporate that, and I'll show you. So I told you that, okay, x is greater than y when m is greater than 1. But the other case is the sign flips. X is less than y when m is between 0 and 1. Okay, so this is what we are trying to prove. Okay, so let m be greater than 1. Okay, from this only we'll try to prove the second case because using m dash. So what I'll do is log x to the base m greater than log y to the base n. I'm going to subtract. I'm going to multiply both sides by -1. What happens to the inequality sign? It flips. Whenever you multiply inequality by a negative sign on both sides, by a negative quantity on both sides, what happens is that the inequality flips. Okay, the sign just changes. All right. So that's why you got the lesser than sign. Okay. Now I am going to take this negative as the power of the denominator. Does that make sense? Guys, do you have any doubts here?
No, sir.
All right. So then it becomes log x base m power -1 is then log y base m power -1. Okay. What is this m power -1? It's m dash.
1 by m.
Okay. Yeah. 1 by m, which is nothing but m dash. Okay. So here what happens? You can see the sign changing here. Okay. Here we already know that if m is greater than 1, log x will be greater than log y. If m is between 0 and 1, what happens? Log x will be lesser than log y. Okay. All right. So to convert it back, this is what happens. Okay. So here, when m dash, so here you can see directly, yx will be less than y when m is between 0 and 1. Okay. Any doubts here, guys? Guys.
No doubt.
Okay. So you were doing some problems, right? So I hope you guys practiced. Did you guys practice? People. Now, pin drop silence. Guys, you can talk to me like an elder brother. It's fine. Okay. If you didn't practice, I can accept you guys didn't practice. It's okay. But make sure you do practice. That's the idea. Right. Now, okay. So you're doing some domain-based problems. You know what domain is, right? Set of all permissible values you can put into it. So, do a question. F of x equal to log base 10 1 plus x cube. Okay. So what do we do for the domain here? Guys, you forgot how to do this?
1 plus x cube greater than 0. 1 plus x cube greater than 0.
Correct. Nice. You remember the method. Set of all permissible values. Right. So that part 1 plus x cube should be greater than 0. That's absolutely right. Okay. What do we get from here?
Greater than minus 1.
Greater than? Yeah, that's fair enough. So instead of this, I would write it this way, okay? This is a more genuine solution, I would call it. X square minus x plus 1. So once you do this, you have to realize that this is a quadratic where d is less than 0. Okay, this is an upward facing parabola, x square minus x plus 1, where d is less than 0. What is d? B square minus 4ac. Okay. This is less than 0. Alright. So it means it's an upward facing parabola with no real roots. Okay. So this never becomes 0. So we can just ignore it. This is always a positive quantity. So you can divide both sides by this positive quantity. What is the positive quantity I'm talking about? X square minus x plus 1. Okay, not equal to 0. X square minus x plus 1 will always be a positive quantity. Okay, did you get this, guys? Why it's a positive quantity?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry. Any doubts, please ask. Okay, guys, feel free to stop me and ask. I don't think we've connected well yet. Okay, you should be free enough to ask me any doubt you have. Right? Not physics and chemistry, but at least math. Okay. And so, okay, 1 square minus 4 into 1 plus 1, 1 into 1 will be less than 0. So this quadratic is there. So now this is the part that matters. X plus 1 is greater than 0. So you get x greater than minus 1. So your answer will be no. Minus 1 to infinity. Minus 1 is not including. Okay, guys? You get this?
Yes, sir.
All right. Let's move on to the next question. Okay, find the domain. Again, find the domain. Then 1 plus x cube. Guys, I'm just giving you a feel of all the topics yet to come. Okay, this is not diving deep into any particular topic. Right. So, come on, guys, show more enthusiasm, solve faster, try to solve faster. I want all of you to solve faster than I am solving, but please keep yourself active. And if you're getting stuck anywhere, please ask, because there is a high chance somebody else will also be stuck in the same place and are not asking the doubt out because they're shy. Okay, so help them out as well. Right. Ask your doubts.
So is it first log base 10 1 plus x cube is great?
Exactly. So this is log base 10 1 plus x cube to the base 10. Okay. So that part here. Okay. All right. This should be greater than 0. All right. So it means that log base 10 1 plus x cube should strictly be greater than 0. What about this value here? 10 is greater than 0. Check. 10 is not equal to 1. Check. I'm just saying that so that you build a habit of thinking like this. All right. You look at the base and then check if it's greater than 0 and less not equal to 1. And then you check at this part, check this part, and figure out if it is greater than 0. Now, if this part itself is to be defined, you know that what? We did it in the previous question. 1 plus x cube should be greater than 0. From there, we got x is between minus 1 and infinity. Right? We got this from the previous question. Right? Now, here, what do we do? How do we continue along this step? Guys, how do we continue along this step? You have so many properties listed, right? You have your notes with you? Guys, all of you are staying at home. Make sure you write all my classes in the same notebook. Okay.
Sir, is it 1 plus x cube greater than 10 power 0.
Fantastic. Okay. This 10, this base value here is greater than 1. Okay. So we had a property that if you have a log a to the base b greater than m, it means that a is greater than b power m. Okay. But that is only when the base is greater than 1. If base is less than 1 and greater than 0, the sign will flip here. A will be less than b power. Just remember that. Okay. So here you get that 1 plus x cube is greater than 10 power 0. So here you get 1 plus x cube. 10 is greater than 1. Okay. So that's why the sign remains this thing. Greater than 1. X cube greater than 0. What can you say about x? Between 0 to infinity. All right. What will your answer be? What will your final answer be?
Positive real numbers.
All positive real numbers. Correct. Correct. Any x greater than 0 will be your final answer. Okay. You are checking what is common between this and this actually. And the first one is what? Minus 1 to infinity. The second one is 0 to infinity. Right. So whatever is common is from 0 to infinity, 0 not included. Okay. Go on to the next question. Any doubts here? Please ask. Please stop me to ask. All right. I'll just write the next question down. Okay. Find the domain. The reason I'm giving you so many domain questions is that I won't have to repeat the same thing again when doing functions. Okay, so for trigonometric functions, for logarithmic functions, domain questions are sorted. So I'm just finishing it off this way. All right. X minus 1 by x plus 5. Okay, find the domain for this.
The base is not greater than 1.
Yes. Here base is between 0 and 1. So you know the sign will flip whatever you're looking at. Right? Like if whenever there's an inequality, the sign will flip. Okay, that's right. But looking at this equation, what can we say right now? Looking at this entire equation, what can we say?
Sir, the thing inside the root should be greater than or equal to 0.
Correct. That's point number 1. The thing inside the root should be greater than or equal to 0. That's well explained. Right? Whatever you put inside the root will always be greater than or equal to 0. Is there any other condition we'll have to put here? Is there any other condition we can extract out of this question by just looking at this question?
So the fraction should be greater than 0 and not equal to minus 5. X should not be equal to minus 5.
Beautiful. Okay. So it's given that x minus 1, x plus 5, okay, should be greater than 0. Because that is this part, it has to be positive. Okay. So when it's minus 5, you'll have to remove it. Okay. So x not equal to minus 5. Okay. We'll take this as third condition. Okay. Right. So what do we do here? We have 3 conditions to solve. Can you guys start solving? It becomes a problem of inequalities. Let's look at the first condition. It will remain a problem of log. What is here? You can say that x minus 1 by x plus 5 is greater than or equal to 0.4 per 0, right? Guys, any doubts?
Sir, shouldn't the sign flip?
Thank you. Exactly. Yes. Correct. You have to change the sign. Okay. So then you get x minus 5 by x plus 1 is, sorry, x minus 1 by x plus 5. Saying something, writing something. Okay. So x minus 1 by x plus 5 will be less than or equal to 1. Okay. So this fetches me x minus 1 by x plus 5 minus 1 less than or equal to 0. So then x minus 1 minus x minus 5. Guys, don't do calculation this slowly in an exam hall, okay? You're not doing yourself any favor here. Less than or equal to 0. Okay. So then, what do I do now? You can draw the graph for this, right? Roughly. Where does it break? At x equal to minus 5. All right. Okay, multiply by minus 1 by 6 throughout. What happens? Greater than or equal to 0. Right? Now, when x is greater than minus 5, what happens? 1 by x plus 5 will always be positive. When x is less than minus 5, what happens? 1 by x plus 5 will be negative. X cannot be minus 5. Just keep note of that. Okay. So we've incorporated a third equation into the first one also. So we don't need to look at the third one again. Okay. So now, so what do I say about the value of x that is permissible here? X is between minus 5 and infinity. This is the first part. Let's look at this part. X minus 1 by x plus 5 should be positive. X minus 1 by x plus 5 should be positive. What do we do here, guys? Guys, what do we do? I hope you're not responding because you're solving. Okay. Now, what do we do here, guys? How do we solve this? We use wavy curve method. X minus 1 gives me a critical point 1. X plus 5 gives me a critical point minus 5. And then I put a huge positive value for x. I get that it's positive. And then this will be negative. This will be positive. Right. When is it greater than 0? It's greater than 0 between minus infinity to minus 5 and 1 to infinity. Okay. This is the second part. Guys, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
There's absolutely zero response. That's right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you for the responses. Now, what will the answer be, guys? And then the C part is x is between minus infinity to infinity minus 5. I'm doing this to confuse you guys, okay? Now tell me what's the final answer?
Is the union of common between all of those three?
Yeah, it will be the union or intersection.
Intersection.
Intersection, okay? Because it has to satisfy condition 1 and condition 2 at the same time, and condition 3 also. Okay, all these three conditions at the same time it has to be satisfied. Okay, are you guys getting this? Right. Guys, when I ask you a question, like silence is very demotivating. Even if you're not getting it, tell me that much. All right, I'll improve my teaching somehow. I'll make sure you understand somehow. But do you have any doubts here?
No, sir.
No? Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Okay. When does this exist? And then this f of x, what's the domain? Same question. What's the domain? Come on, guys.
But
The same
in the
logic we use-
bracket,
Yes, yes, yes.
in the bracket 2 log x, what's the base, sir? E.
I think we assume nearly, but since 100 is here, we'll take 10. It's not mentioned in the question, but generally it's 10 only.
10 log x.
Yeah, yeah. So the convention here is, I'll tell you, at least when I was studying, this was the convention. Log, when I say in your math exam paper, if it's given that it's log x, okay, it generally means base 10, generally, okay. And whenever you see ln x, which means natural log, okay, there you take base as e. Okay, this is the convention I used to follow, and this is the convention I'll generally be following, right? Unless I specify otherwise.
So 100x should be greater than 0.
100x should be greater than, okay, we're starting with the condition. 100x should be greater than 0. Lovely. So what can you say about x? You divide both sides by 100. You get x greater than 0. Okay. Now,
100x
what is the
not equal to
condition?
1.
100x not equal to 1. Nice. So x not equal to
1 by 100.
1 by 100. Is there any other condition?
2 log x plus 1 by minus x greater than 0.
Guys, I think you're the ones who are responding, you guys are like, I have full trust with you with the rest of this chapter because there's nothing else remaining in logarithm. Okay. So like, even if you get tough questions, I know you can compose yourself to figure it out once you've practiced enough. Okay. So make sure you practice enough and get that drill into your head. Those who are not responding, make sure you practice enough either way. All right. Okay. You will get it. Like it's the same idea. You can hear your friends speak about it. Right. So the first one gives me this. The second one gives me this. The third one, let's play with it. What happens here? Come on,
So
guys.
first x not equal to 0. First x is not equal to 0.
First, x is not equal to 0. Okay. Okay. X
So
is
for the
not equal to
denominator
0.
again.
Yeah, I got that. X is not equal to 0. Yes.
Sir, does the domain exist?
Why do you say that? Why do you ask that?
Because there's a minus x in the denominator, sir. Whatever value we put for x will turn out as negative.
No. Don't think like that. Don't think like that. Like there are values where it can be positive. Okay. Like there can be values where it can be positive. Like we have to verify that. Just because we see minus x below doesn't mean anything. Okay. Like minus x, like if I put a negative value for x, what happens here? Minus x will become positive. Or look at the other case. What if minus x is negative, but the numerator is positive? Numerator is also negative. Okay. The numerator is also negative and the denominator is negative. What do you have? The entire quantity will become positive, right? So don't assume directly that you don't have a domain just because minus x is there. Okay, because you saw that here x is greater than 0 and here x has to be less than 0 for the denominator to be positive, right? So when that happens, like don't get confused that okay, there won't be a domain. What happens is that you'll have to verify first. Okay, so I will use whatever I learned here into this for the verification part. Why? Why would I do that? Because I'm kind of stuck here. All right, I'm actually kind of stuck here. Okay, you see this minus x, right? It's given to me that x will be positive. Anyway, I'll have to take an intersection, whatever is common between this, and this. Case 1, case 2, and case 3. All right. So it's given to me that in case 1 that x is positive. So what does that make minus x? It'll always be negative. It's given to me that x is greater than 0. So what will happen to minus x? It'll always be less than 0. Are you following? People, are
Yes,
you
sir.
there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right. So log x to the base 10 plus 1. What am I doing now? I am going to multiply both the sides with minus x. You following? If I multiply both sides with minus x, why am I able to do that? Because I know that it is negative. Okay. All right. 0 into minus x is 0. This and this will cancel each other out. Are you following? And then I am stuck with 2 log x to the base 10 plus 1 greater than 0. Did you understand this technique I used? Why it is different from whatever we did till now? I used the first two cases to solve the third case. Okay, because I was stuck. I can't directly multiply by x. I don't know the sign of it. That's why I used the sign from the first two equations. Right? Okay, so that's how I got rid of the denominator to solve the whole thing. All right. So from here, I'll get that log x to the base 10 is greater than what?
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes. Ask.
Sir, doesn't the sign flip after multiplying with minus x on both sides?
The sign come into factor when multiplying. Oh, yes. I'm explaining, but I'm not doing it on the paper. Okay, I got it. So what do you do here? You multiply by minus x, and minus x is a negative quantity. So when you multiply a negative quantity, it will be, you'll have the sign flipping. Thank you so much for the clarification. Okay, I missed that part. So here, log x base 10 is less than minus 1 by 2. What can you say about x now? X is less than 10 power minus 1 by 2 by 10 is greater than 1. As simple as that. Okay? Guys, getting it?
Yes, sir.
So what will your final answer be? X is greater than 0 and x is less than 10 power 1 by 2. Okay, greater than 0 and less than 10 power minus 1 by 2. Is that your final answer? Is that your final answer, guys?
Yes, sir. Should be.
No, we forgot one part.
Sir, minus 1 by 100.
Exactly. Right. You put that, and then you have your final answer. Okay. So I'll just ask you one previous year question. Not immediately previous year. When were you guys born? Like which year? 2000?
Please, sir.
No, 2003. Okay, this is a 2002 IIT JEE question. Okay, 1 year before you were born. All right. So the question is this only: find the domain. So that time we had subjective paper and all. Right. So you have to write the whole thing. And unless they were convinced with the steps, they won't give you marks also. Right. So let's try this question. Come on. How do you deal with this? Yes, quickly.
X plus 3 greater than 0.
Nice. Okay. The first part. 3 greater than 0. Okay. And the second part.
Sir, x square plus 3x plus 2 should not be equal to 0.
Okay. Can you tell me the final answer from here? Is it not from here directly? Like, can you quickly solve and tell? Look, this is an IDA question. Let's see what happens.
Sir, minus 3 to infinity, both not included. Minus set of minus 1, comma, minus 2.
Okay, lovely. Well done. Immediately. Okay. So here it goes from minus 3 to infinity. All right. And then here, this is not greater than 0. Sorry. This is not equal to 0. That's it. So I say that x plus 1 and x plus 2 not equal to 0. X not equal to 1, minus 1, comma, minus 2. All right. And minus 1 and minus 2 lies in this. Is there any other condition that we have to satisfy? Any other condition, guys?
2 should be greater than 1. I mean, 2 not equal to 1 and 2 is greater than 0.
2 not equal to 1.
Yes, sir. Log or a base, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. 2, okay, this one. 2 greater than 0, 2 not equal to 1. Perfect. Well done. Now, what will your answer be? Minus 3, comma, infinity. Like you said, absolutely right. Minus 1, comma, minus 2. JEE 2002 paper. All right, one question set. Okay. Now, yeah. Prove to me that you understood everything. Log 10. No, we'll just do 2 practice problems and move on to the next topic. Okay. I think we're done with log for now. Okay. So find the domain here first. What do we do here? And then you solve it quickly. Come on. Tell me the answer.
Sir,
is it
x
1 to
belongs to 1
infinity?
to infinity.
If you are seeing the screen, we'll get the solution. There are 2 parts here. This should be greater than 0 and this alone should be greater than 0 too. Okay, so these 2 parts combined to give me x greater than 1 and x greater than 0. So the intersection part will be x greater than 1. It will be 1 to infinity. Correct. Anybody had trouble solving this question? Anybody had trouble solving the question? Guys, don't be shy. All right. The one who learns most is the one who's prepared to act dumb. Okay. Like you have to accept that. All right. Like you're not able to solve, then only you'll even want to improve. Okay. So if you had trouble, please mention it. Okay. Now, next question. Find a domain. Okay.
Sir, will the answer be the same thing? X to 1 comma infinity.
No. That'll change. And then I want you to find out why. That's the.
Sir, is it 10 power 10 to infinity?
Yes. Correct. Did you have fun solving it?
Yes, sir.
Rest of you?
Got the same answer, sir.
You're getting the same answer. Guys, tell me when you get the answer, okay? All right. There are people who haven't spoken at all. Harish. Is everything good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sanjana, were you able to get the same answer?
Yes, sir.
Well, I have no other option but to believe everybody, right? Right. Realize. Okay. So the idea here is, I'll explain anyway. Log to the base 10, log to the base 10, log to the base 10, x greater than 0. Okay. So from here, I can, okay, I'll also know that this is inside a log 10 to the base x, sorry, log x to the base 10. So x has to be greater than 0. First subcondition. Second one starts from here. Okay. So from here, I can deduce that. Once again, I can deduce that log 10, log to the base 10, log to the base 10 x, basically this part here, all right, will be greater than 10 power 0, okay, which is nothing but 1. Okay. And then from here, continuing, log 10 to the base x is greater than what? 10 power 1. Now what can I say about x? It's greater than 10 power 10. This has to be common with x greater than 0. What is there? 10 power 10 to infinity. That's the answer. All right. Now, yeah, that's about logarithms. Let's move on to relations and functions. There's a lot of notes, but just for your reference, give you a PDF. Okay, so first, you know what an ordered pair is? Guys, do you know what an ordered pair is?
Yes, sir.
What is an ordered pair? Like any point in a graph is an example of an ordered pair, okay? Any set of x comma y. What is happening here? It is an example of an ordered pair. Like ordered pair, like is nothing but a collection of two elements. It's not a simple collection of two elements. That's the idea. The ordering of the elements matter. When I say a set A equal to 1, 2, 3, okay. If I write this as 3, 2, 1, is it the same set? A equal to this. Am I talking about the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So A and A dash are the same here. If I write A as A comma B and B as B comma A, are they the same?
No.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No, right? So that ordering matters, all right. Now, can I write A comma A? Is this valid? Think of it as a point. That's the simplest way to go about this. Think of a point. All right, you can do this. You can do this. All right. If I reverse the order, it still remains A comma A. It is still the same point. You can do this. Okay, it's the same thing only. All right. But here, if you reverse the order, no chance. Okay, if A and B are slightly different also, these are two different points. Okay, so if I take an ordered pair from A cross B, okay, so to discuss A cross B, have we discussed Cartesian product? Guys, have we discussed Cartesian product?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so for those who don't remember, if I write two sets, 1 comma 2 and then lambda comma 5, a Cartesian product A cross B will be a set of ordered pairs A comma B such that A is from the first set and the second element B is from the second set. Are you guys following? So this is a set of all elements that come out like this. How many elements will be there in this Cartesian product? There will be 3 into 2, 6. Okay. Are you guys getting this?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is an example of a set of ordered pairs, Cartesian product. Okay. When you have two these things, the set of all ordered pairs that you can form will be here. Okay, from where A is in the first set and B is from the second set. Okay. Now, equality. I think we discussed all this. Yeah, this and all we just discussed in one go. Cartesian product of sets. Okay. How many elements are there in Cartesian product? That also we discussed. Now, what is the relation? Guys, what's the relation?
Any subset of Cartesian product.
Exactly. All right. Take a Cartesian product, its subset will be a relation, like any subset. So how many relations can you draw? Like suppose A has m elements, B has n elements. A cross B is the Cartesian product. Okay. And this one will have how many elements? Let's say A
M
has
into
P
N.
elements.
M into
and this has- Yeah. What you meant was P into Q for this. Right? So the relation, number of relations that can be drawn from A to B will be what?
2 power
2
p.
per PQ.
Lovely. Okay. So this is about relations. The number of relations you can draw from A to B. Number of relations you can draw from B to B, B to A.
2 power p.
Same answer, guys. 2 power PQ. Remember, the Cartesian product from B to A will also be Q into P, which is B into Q. Okay. Now, let's see what we have in common. So they're given two sets, Dhoni and Maricom, and one is B here. So you match everything. Dhoni boxing, Dhoni chess, Dhoni cricket. Maricom boxing, Maricom chess, Maricom cricket. Okay. So this will be the Cartesian product. This is an example I'm just demonstrating. And then if the relation has a meaning to it, right? Like it need not be that a relation has a meaning. But suppose you define a meaning in your own head. Okay. That the first one plays the second one, like that. So Dhoni is related to cricket and Maricom is related to boxing. All right. So you can form a relation like this, where first set is Dhoni and cricket, next is Maricom and boxing. All right. So this is a valid relation because it's a subset of the Cartesian product. That's all you're looking, not whether it has meaning or not. Meaning is something you can define to it. It may or may not have meaning. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you explaining this. Right. So remember that relation will always be a subset of the Cartesian product. Okay, there's one more example. I don't think it's required. So yeah, just put some space here. Hey, be honest, don't look at the solution. It's an easy question, right? So if A is equal to 1, 2, 3, which of the following are relations from A to B? Guys, let's look at the options. Can you tell me the answer? Which are relations from A to B? Like, what are you looking for? Tell me that. Don't tell me the answer. What are you looking for here when you try to
The
solve
first
the
element should be from set A, and second element
second element should be from B. Absolutely right, Srivatsan. Thank you. Okay. First element is from set A, second element from set B. Anything else you care? No. Okay. R1, is it valid?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
R2, is it valid?
Yes, sir.
R3,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
R4?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No,
Absolutely. Any doubts here, guys? Any doubts?
no, sir.
Okay. Move ahead. Okay. Now, number of relations. Number of relations, 2 power PQ, we just discussed that. Okay, so that's what they've said here. This will be 2 power PQ. And okay, what is a trivial relation? What is a non-trivial relation? It's not that important, but it's good to know. What's a trivial relation? Like trivial, what is the meaning of the word trivial? Tell me that. Let's start from there. Okay, what do you think is the meaning of the word trivial?
Something unimportant, small.
Something unimportant.
Something that's obvious.
Okay, that would be a more accurate description. Okay. Something that's there in front of you, trivial. It's the most trivialist of things. All right, it's just obvious. It's just there in front of you. Every day I have to drink some water. That's a trivial fact. Okay. So it's just already established. Okay, it's just obvious that way. Okay, so trivial relation. So, so if you have a set, okay, which is the Cartesian product, the set of all a comma b, such that a is from capital A and b is from capital B. What are the obvious subsets here? You know that phi is an obvious subset. Phi, the empty set, null set, is an obvious subset. Then the set itself is an obvious subset. Are you following, guys?
Yes, sir.
People, you following? Okay, the set itself will be an obvious subset also. So A cross B itself and phi are the trivial sets, and the rest are non-trivial. Guys, you'll see the word trivial in other chapters. That's why I'm stressing on it right now. Okay. But you got this idea, right?
Yes, sir.
Right. Yeah. So comes domain and range for relations. Okay, not for function, for relations. Right. So it's almost the same thing. What can be the domain here? Can you guess? I'm putting it in front of you, but try not looking at the screen and just guess. Honestly, come on.
So the x.
Yeah, all the
Coordinate
first
system.
values. Correct. When you say a comma b, all the values a can take in that relation. So relation will be a subset, right? It'll have a bunch of elements in it. It can have a bunch of elements. So in all of those, what are the first values? Okay, when I say a comma b, what are the first values? Are you following? Guys, are you getting this? When I say a comma b, what are the first values? That comes under domain. What comes under range? What are the second values? All right. That is domain. That is range in terms of a relation here. Okay. I hope this is crystal clear. Let's. You want, yeah, take a look at the notes, but I don't see anything very useful here. Right. Next comes inverse of a relation. What can inverse of a relation be? Come on, tell me.
So it's B to A. Sir.
Exactly. All right. So if I have a relation defined by a comma b, where a is an element of a and b is an element of b, so this is the relation. Okay. And this relation, what can you say? It's from a to b, set a to set b. So here, the inverse will be from b to a. Okay. Will be described by b to a, b by a, where a is still an element of a and b is still an element of b. Okay. This is what an inverse relation is. You just take the complete upside down, ulta. Yeah, that's where you go. Need also, guys?
No.
Am I going too fast? Am I going too fast?
No, sir.
Okay,
No,
so then
sir.
I'm going too slow. Okay, got it. All right, so it's good news only for me, which means I can increase my pace. Let's look at some types of relation. Okay, void relation, empty relation. That's a trivial relation we talked about. Hello. Guys, is it a trivial relation we talked about? Void relation or empty relation? So let's look at an example. So we're just defining it on the same set, A cross A, because we are lazy to define a set B. It'll overcomplicate. No, it won't overcomplicate, but yeah, just lazy. So, oh, this is an interesting fact. So when you use A cross A, you say the relation, any relation you draw from it is on A. So you will be applying it again in functions. The function is on A, which means both the quantities are taken from the same set A. Okay. Now, A is a set 1, 2, 3. R is a set such that A plus B equal to 12. All right. So A is 1, 2, 3, and R is a relation such that A plus B is equal to 12. What is the relation you can draw?
Null set.
Nothing here. Nothing you can draw. If you take A as 3, B has to be what? B has to be 9 for it to be 12. But is B inside the set A? I think I confused you guys. If I take this
No,
A
sir,
as
it's
3,
not
I
there.
will. Sorry?
No, sir, I said it's not there.
It's not there. Exactly. Like there's no B such that like 9 minus 3, 9 minus 2, 9 minus 1 exists. Sorry, 12 minus 3, 12 minus 2, 12 minus 1 exists. Okay. Like inside the set. So this is a void relation, empty relation. Next comes universal relation, which is the entire Cartesian product itself. Got it? This is a universal relation, entire Cartesian product. Okay. Now, next is one more, identity relation. What is identity relation? That you have 1, 2, 3 and all existing. Okay, good for you. If that's the case, then 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 should be there inside the relation. There can be other relations. There can be other parts of it. Okay, there can be other elements. Say 1, 2, 2, 3. Any other part can also be there. But 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 must definitely be there for it to become an identity relation. Are you following, guys?
Yes, sir.
Are you all listening?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then what I said was wrong. Okay. Right. So, which part of it is wrong? Can you look and figure it out?
R1.
R1 has 1, 1, 2, 2. Okay. And
Sir, R3 is also an identity relation.
no, it's not. That's the part where I confused you. Okay. Right. R3 is not identity relation. It's not that 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 should be there. Anything else can be there. No. 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 is the identity relation. Otherwise, identity relation is there in the relation. That's the idea. Okay, there's a difference here. Okay, it's not that important or anything, but just for namesake, we're covering it. All right. If each and every element of A is related to only itself, that's the definition. Okay, guys, got it? Okay. Now, A and B, B2 non-empty sets having M elements in common. A cross B and B cross A have M square elements in common. Of course, how does it work? So here they showed one demo. A and B are two non-empty sets with M elements in common. Okay. So in this case, M is equal to 2. What are the common elements? 1 and 2 themselves. Okay. So the idea is A cross B and B cross A will have how many elements in common? You know they're not the same. A cross B and B cross A. They're not the same. But they'll have overlapping elements. Where will that come from? Tell me. So 1 cross 2 is here. 2 cross 1 will be from there. Okay, that's the idea. In how many ways can that happen? Okay, are you following? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here there will be 1 cross 2. Here there will be corresponding 2 cross 1. the same thing written here, to be 2 cross 1. But there's also a 2 cross 1 here. Okay. Which means there'll be a 1 cross 2 here. Sorry, 1 comma 2. Oh my god, I've been saying cross till now, right? 1 comma 2 here. Okay. Any other fancy elements here? 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2 can also exist in A cross B and B cross A. All right. Any other common elements?
No, sir.
No, right? So did you understand how we get 2 square number of elements? If we have 3 elements in common, we'll get 3 square number of elements. Did you understand how that happens? So there'll be a 1 comma 2 and there'll be a 2 comma 1. Okay, there'll be a 3 comma 1 and a 1 comma 3. Like this will keep happening. All right. And then there'll be terms with itself again, 1 comma 1, 2 comma 2 and 3 comma 3. Right. So when you crisscross, you can see that 1 has 1 comma 1, 1 comma 2, 1 comma 3, 3 elements. 2 has 2 comma 1, 2 comma 2, 2 comma 3, 3 more elements. 3 has 3 comma 1, 3 comma 2, 3 comma 3, 3 more elements. It's nothing but 3 square. Okay, 3 into 3. That's the idea. Right? I hope you guys got this. Let's move on to the question. A and B are non-empty sets such that we can just hide the solution so that we can make the same mistakes. Right. So A and B are non-empty sets such that A cross A has 9 elements, among which 2 elements are -1 and 0, 1. Then find set A. A cross A has 9 elements. What does that mean? What will A have? How many elements will A have? Tell me that much.
3.
That's it. That's it. A will have 3 elements. This question they're trying to ask something else, but we can use some other method and find this. Okay. A will have 3 elements. Okay. Now, among which 2 elements are found to be. So these are parts of the relation. Okay, 0, 1, 1, 0. So which means -1 is part of A, 0 is part of A, 0 is part of A, and 1 is also part of A. So it's -1, 0, 1. Was this space okay with you guys?
Okay.
I explained it only once. I can explain with the same pace again. So I'm trying to get you more used to my speed. That's why. Yeah. Was the space okay?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Understandable? Was this question understood by everybody? Any doubts here?
No, sir.
Okay, let's move ahead. So, yeah, we have verified the answer also. Question. Let A have first 10 odd natural numbers and B first 10 prime numbers. Then number of elements common to A cross B, B cross A is. What will it be, guys? First 10 odd natural numbers. Just think of the natural numbers. Okay, I should have written the solution. But yeah, think of the first 10 natural numbers, like odd ones. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, and 13 all the way up till 19. Actually, list them only. And then the first 10 prime numbers. What are the first 10 prime numbers, guys? Is 1 prime?
1
Is
is
1
neither prime. No, sir.
Exactly. 1 is neither prime nor composite. So we don't include 1. That from 2, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 19, 23. And so on. Now we are just looking at the elements common. Okay, so after 19, just stop writing anything. Right. Then what do? Find the number of elements common. 2 is not common. 3, 5, 7, 11, 13 are 5 elements. And these 2 are 2 more elements. So you have 7 elements that are common, right? Okay. So imagine the 7, imagine the 7 elements 7 elements mapping to each other. Okay, how many ways can that happen, guys? 3 can go here, 3 can go here, 3 can go here. 3 has how many options? Think permutation and combination. 3 has how many options? 3 has, this 3 has 7 options to pair with. Okay. 5 has how many options? 7 options to pair with. Okay, think like that. Each of these 7 terms have 7 options to pair with. That's why you're getting 7 into 7, or in other words, 7 squared. Does this make sense, guys?
Yes,
Guys,
sir.
tell me if it makes sense or not.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you were in a real live classroom, right, I wouldn't have kept asking you, did you understand, did you understand? I'll look at you and figure it out. Right now, I'll have to ask, because that's the only confirmation I can get from your end. The other confirmation are the results of your tests. Okay. So, yeah. Now let's look at the next question. Hide the solution. Okay. A is 124, B is 245. Okay. C is 25. What is A minus B cross B minus C? What is A minus B?
2. So 1.
Correct. The set one. What is B minus C?
4.
4. What is your answer?
1, 4.
Right. So B should be your answer. I don't know why we asked that question here. All right. Now, frankly, way too easy. Guys, just don't look at the solution, okay? Do this properly. Come on. A is equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. B is equal to 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And N of A delta B. What is A delta B? What is the delta sign?
It's a difference.
It's called symmetric difference. All right. Okay. What do you do in symmetric difference? Guys, what is symmetric difference? You have two sets, A and B. Forgot the symmetric difference? You take this part and this part. Basically, you take an A minus B along with the B minus A. Got it? Okay. Or in other words, you can write it as A union B minus A intersection B. All right. And I hope you understood this. This is symmetric difference. That is what delta B means. Okay. So what does that mean? What is common in A and B is what you have to remove. So first you write all the elements together. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. And what is common? We'll have to remove. 1 is gone. 2 won't go. 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. How many elements are we left with? A delta B?
3.
3 elements. So, number of elements will be 3. And the question is asking for the for what happens when we take the Cartesian product of both. Okay. When we take the Cartesian product of both, if you don't remember, if you're not a person who likes to remember formulas and loves to follow the logic, please don't remember square and all. Okay. What will happen here? This will go to 3, this will go to 3, this will go to 3. We're looking at 3 square here, which is 9. Okay, that's it. Pretty sure this is clear, but if you have any doubts, please ask. Yeah. Go to the next question. Yeah. If A is such that Guys, I haven't been keeping very well recently, so that's why I had to postpone the classes. 2, 3. Then A cross B is equal to. Let's hide the. No, this is the next topic. Solution will be there itself. Okay, what are they asking? It's a natural number such as this thing. Then number of elements in A cross B. Number of elements in A cross B. How many elements are there in A?
2.
It's 2.
What are the elements?
1 and 2.
1 and 2.
Okay. B is 2, 3. What are the elements in A cross B? Was the question. Oh, this is too easy here. Okay, there will be 4. Okay. Done? Will there be a repetition here because of 2 and 2? Will the same element happen twice? Guys,
Yes, sir.
and then will there be overcounting? Yes, Sri Vachan?
Yes, sir. It's not overcounting, sir.
There is no overcounting. It's correct. Right? I just try to confuse you. All right. Now let's get to functions. No. Wait. A function. So I have enough time to introduce functions to you. Yes. Okay. A function is like a machine. It takes in an input and gives out an output. We have learned a few functions like log x to the base e, for example. Log x to the base e. So I'm talking in terms of function, in terms of one variable. Okay, and that's what our context is. Right, a function in terms of one variable, y equal to f of x. Right. So an example of a function is log x to the base e. I'll call this f1x. I'll call f2x as x square. I'll call f3x as root x. Okay, so what do you mean by input?
Domain.
Domain, exactly. Whatever you feed to the machine, okay, is the input. Whatever possible values you can feed to the machine will be the input. Okay, so if I say f of x equal to root of x, what are the possible inputs they can put?
Positive real number.
X greater than or equal to 0. If I say log x to the base e, what are the values I can put here?
All
It is greater
positive.
than 0.
Yeah. So here it's all non-negative real numbers. Just think like that. Okay. There's a distinction here. When I put less than or equal to 0, it will become non-negative real number. Positives are the ones right next to it. Here, F1. The domain of F1 will be positive real numbers. Okay. What about this one?
Real
F2
number. Real number.
will be all real numbers. Okay. So these are the inputs. What about the outputs for F1? Okay. For this one, for root of x, what are the outputs?
Greater than or equal to 0.
Okay. So here you get non-negative real numbers. Okay. Non-negative real numbers. What about this one? Log x to the base e. What are the outputs you can get?
Greater than 0.
Greater than 0. Okay. And then x square. What happens here?
Greater than 0. Greater than equal to
Equal to 0. 0 square also. Don't forget. Okay. So there's one mistake here. Log x to the base e. What happened here? So
the range is all real numbers, right?
Exactly. Range is all real numbers. Okay. Just remember the graph. Let's look at root x. Can you put any value lesser than 0? No, right? Root x goes like this. So you can see all numbers greater than 0 are taken here. This will be the range. Okay. Are you following? What about the domain? It will be all numbers greater than or equal to 0 only. This is the domain. Okay, so domain is along the x-axis, range will be along the y-axis on the graph. Remember that. Alright, guys? So you take any point, if it has a projection on the x and the y-axis, it's part of the range and the domain. Okay? Understood? Are you following? Each x comma y that I find on this graph will have the x as part of the domain and y as part of the range. Are you getting this? Are you following? Say yes, no if you're not. Guys, are you following or not?
Got it.
Right. So the next graph I would like to draw is the log x graph. So log x to the base e is what I wanted to draw. So that will go like this. Okay. So how do you find the domain and range here? Guys, come on. How do you find the domain and the range here? What do? To find the domain, you again go along the x-axis. Remember, you don't touch the 0 part. Okay. So domain will be strictly greater than 0. All x greater than 0. Guys, are you understanding what is going on? Responses, guys. Responses.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The range will be the set of all real numbers. From this, you can see this goes to minus infinity. This goes to a huge value. Like you write e raised to 10,000, e raised to 100,000 for x. So log x to the base e will become what? 10,000, 100,000, and so on. So log e raised to huge value will become a huge value. So that's why you can say it will go to a huge positive value also if required. So you can say this graph extends to infinity. It looks like it's flattening out, but you will never see it decrease. Okay. All right. Next comes root x and then x square. Right. X square goes like this. Okay, I'll use another pen. X square goes like this. What is the domain? What is the range? Look at the graph and tell me. Right now, we thought about the function and then we told domain and range. Now look at the graph and tell me what's the domain, what's the range.
So both are x greater than or equal to 0.
Okay. Huh? No.
The range is all positive.
Exactly.
Range is all positive.
Range has to be non-negative numbers, 0 upwards. Okay. Range of the function is from 0 to infinity. This is how we write it. Okay. Domain of the function, you go along the x-axis. You see the projection of each point on the x-axis. You can put any value of x into it, right? Domain of the function will be, am I writing on this? Any real number. Okay. Got it? Are you getting this? All of you have done functions before, right? So that's why I'm starting off like this only.
Yes, sir.
There are no doubts here. Now, what is a function? A function is defined such that, so I just taught you how to find domain and range of function. And what is a function? It is a special case of a relation. Okay. A function is a special case of a relation. So we already learned what a relation is. You have two sets A and B. You can draw a relation from A to B. So can you draw a function from A to B? Okay. A relation will have its own set of elements. A, B, C, D, and so on. And B will have its own set of elements. Okay, let's suppose it ends at E. B will also have its own set of elements, which are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, the idea is, how do I draw a relation? Is this a relation? Tell me this. Is this a relation? By this, I mean the set of values A, 1 and A, 5. Is this a relation, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is this a function?
No, sir.
Why is that the case?
Sir, because A cannot be connected to
Because
two
A has
elements of B.
two
It
images.
can be
Correct. Okay, we will name it. I'm sorry. I didn't give you the name. So any element from A, I'll call it the pre-image. Any element from B, I'll call it the image. Like not element from B. Like when I put an ordered pair A comma B, A is the pre-image, B is the image. Okay, B is from set B, A is from set A. That's the idea. So A cannot have two images. It should have a unique image for it to be a function. It can point anywhere for a relation, but for a function, it needs to have, it is very strict that way. Okay. You can only have a one-way traffic. You can only go to one element. Now, suppose B points to 1. Is it a function?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, huh? Okay, fine. Now, C is pointing to 5. Is it a function?
Yes, sir.
B is pointing to 7. Is this a function?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, B is pointing to 5. Is this a function?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Guys, only this answer was correct. Rest everything was wrong. Why? That last answer you said that this right now I drew what I drew as a function. The point of the function is, look, this is the domain set. Okay. The function is defined from A to B. So A is the domain. B is something called the codomain. Okay. The used elements from B is called the range. Are you guys following this? Are you guys following what range is? The elements in B, which is the codomain. So set A is there, set B is there. From set A, I draw a function to set B. Okay. Now set B is called the codomain by default. It'll think of it as a superset of the range. It will definitely contain the range. Is it the range? We can only find out. So here in this case, we found out that 2, 4, and 6 are not used at all. So what does that mean? If 2, 4, and 6 are not used, the codomain and range are a little different, right? That's all you need to understand here. Okay, codomain and range are a little different. Now, I told you one thing. This is a function, but before that, whatever I drew were not functions. Why? Every element in the codomain should have, every element in the domain should have an element in the codomain. You following? It should be mapped to an element in the codomain. So before I connected E, E was free, right? E had no image. Are you following what I'm saying here? Guys, I'll wait because this is important. Okay. E didn't have an image here. D did not have an image till I drew D to 7. C did not have an image till I drew this. Okay. I was trying to put your focus to the right hand side, but this was where the focus is. Okay. All right. For a function to exist, one, every point in its domain. There's a reason it's called domain. It means set of all permissible values. If it's permissible, it should definitely give me an output. Are you following? If the value is permissible that I put into that machine called the function, it should definitely give me an output which lies in the codomain. Okay. It's not necessary it gives me all the values that lie in the codomain. Okay, that is separate. When I define two functions, and when I define two sets and a function between them, it means the first set, A, should have all its elements satisfied. Okay, then only A becomes the domain. If it's not, then it's not a function. Are you following? If all elements in A cannot be put into the function, that function is not defined. Are you getting this definition?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So then comes the second element. The element should be unique in B. Unique in the sense, not different elements. You can see that C and E are pointing to the same element 5. It means it should point to an element, not 2 elements, not 3 elements. It should point to a unique element. So instead of unique, you can think exactly one element in B. Okay. All right. So this is how you define a function. Did you get this? Did you get all
Yes, sir.
this? What a
Yes.
function is. There is a domain, a codomain, and a subset of it, which is the range. Set of all values that come out. Suppose all these elements pointed to the same value 3. Is this a function?
No, sir.
Why is it not a
Yes,
function?
Because
Sir,
it
it
have a
is a
unique
function.
image.
No, sorry.
Have a unique image.
Yes. So that's the confusion I wanted to clarify. Unique means everything like this A here, you see this A, right? This should point to exactly one element. Which element does it point to? 3. Okay. The next one, B here, should point to exactly one element. Which element does it point to? 3. Unique in the sense it need not be distinct. Okay. It needs to point to one element. That's the idea of unique here. Understood? All right. So this is not a. So this is a function. This is absolutely a function. Okay. So just because all of it is pointing to 3 doesn't mean it does not have a unique image. It has, every element has its own unique image, which happens to be the same one, which is 3. Understood? Every element has its own unique image, which happens to be 3. Happens to be the same one. Everything should have one output. That's the idea. There's a function called a constant function, f of x equal to c. You must have heard of this, right? Have you heard of constant function, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So f of x equal to c. So this is a proper function. How does it work? This is the okay. This is the graph of the function f of x equal to c. Now, what is happening here? How does this image look this way? This is a set of all real numbers. This is the codomain. It can be anything, set of all real numbers. Okay, of which one element is c, and all elements from the set of all real numbers point to c. This is that case. Is it a function? It is a function. Okay, but the idea is whatever input you throw it, it will give out only one output. That is the uniqueness of this. Okay, that is what you mean by unique. Whatever input you throw it will give out exactly one output. And that is why we say this is unique. Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts here?
Sir,
Yes.
I have a doubt. Sir, the second condition can be said like it should have a unique pre-image, no sir?
Oh, can we say that every element in B can have a unique pre-image?
Yes.
Look, here, does it have a unique pre-image? You'll have different pre-images, right? Like more than one. That is the idea.
Yeah.
Here in the constant function, you can see that C has many pre-images. Like basically all the terms in the domain is a pre-image of C, right? So
Okay, sir, I got it.
you got it, right?
Yeah.
But there's also another case, okay? Suppose there's A, B, C, D, and then 1, 2, 3, and you used only this much. So this has 2 preimages. This has 1 preimage. These don't have any preimages. So everything in the range should have at least 1 preimage. Think like that. Not everything in the codomain. That angle also I had to know. Got it? Okay,
Yes,
these
sir.
need not have a preimage also. So if things don't have a preimage, it doesn't mean it's not a function. Right, that's the idea. So yeah, we'll end the class right now. It's 8:30. And yeah, so next class we'll start by 6:50, 6:50, 10 minutes earlier than before. So that you have any doubts from today's class, we can clarify. Okay, so I think this will be the last of our completely easy classes. Okay. All right, guys. So we'll start doing better problems. High quality. Actually, it might take a little more time. But yeah, we'll get there. No worry. Okay, guys. Do you have any doubts?
No, sir.
Please ask if you do. If it's from other chapter also, you can ask. It's okay.
No, sir.
There are no doubts? Okay, fine. That's the end of the class. Thank you so much. Take care, guys.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.